Happy New Year, and welcome to the live stream of the Dorchester School District 2 Board of Trustees January 11th board meeting. These meetings are held on the second and fourth Monday of each month and always provide useful information regarding the operation of our district and schools. These meetings are recorded and posted at dd2.org/live. Before the meeting begins, please note these important announcements. We are excited to have students engaged in their studies after the winter break. For the health and well-being of our students, January e-learning meals are provided at designated schools and community sites at no cost on Tuesdays and Fridays through January 15th. Visit dd2.org/back-to-school for the complete listing and pickup times. Stay tuned for upcoming information concerning meal and instructional details beginning January 19th. The following are important dates to keep in mind. January 18th, there will be no school in honor of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. January 29th is the end of the second quarter. February 1st is a staff day and there will be no school for students. For additional calendar information, please visit dd2.org/calendar. Dorchester School District 2 is currently accepting applications at dd2.org for talented professionals to join our team. Apply online or share this opportunity with your friends and family. Our family culture, involved parents, vibrant community, and proven leadership are at the heart of who we are. We believe in building successful futures for all of our students, educators, and staff. The foundation of our success is grounded in our core values: students, passion, accountability, integrity, community, excellence, relationships, diversity, leadership, and recognition. We invite you to explore career opportunities that await you in our award-winning school district. Learn more about us at dd2.org or contact the personnel office. Fine art classes utilize skills that are valuable in every student's life: creating, exploring, critiquing, and taking risks. The district is proud to offer a quality fine arts program at each of our schools, complemented by the state-of-the-art Summers Corner Performing Arts Center that serves both our schools and community. We hope you enjoy this performance of Flight of the Bumblebee. Thank you for joining us this evening, and make sure to follow us on the Dorchester District 2 Facebook page at Team DD2.
Hello, everyone. I need a motion at this time to come out of executive session and into open session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ms. Hughes made it and Mr. Justin Farnsworth seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. And now I call the meeting to order, and I will turn it over to Mr. Pye.
I think we just need to vote on our executive session item, and then we'll go into that stuff.
That's important.
So, Madam Chair, after discussion in executive session, I will make a motion. There was a plot of land, apologies because I don't have the RMS number, the RLS number. The plot of land discussed that we are looking to sell as a school district. I make a motion that we proceed with the sale of that land as discussed in executive session.
We have a motion to sell that land. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Crosby, second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. And it is unanimous. There. Now I can turn the time over to Mr. Pye.
Good afternoon. What else? The agenda?
Oh,
Yeah, we got to get out of this.
y'all sure? Don't you enjoy this? Okay. We need to make a motion to close the called meeting. And Ms. Barbara Crosby has made that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Guthrie? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you.
All right, now I'm on. And you wonder why am I doing the approval of the agenda or anything on here? Tonight's the election of officers. So at this particular point in time, we're making the transition to get ready to vote for the new officers, and therefore I will begin the meeting off there as we don't have a chairman yet.
Mr. Pye, I would like
Yes,
to
ma'am.
nominate Gail Hughes.
No, we're not ready to do that yet. We got a few things before we go into that. Hold for just a second. I'm just explaining why I'm here.
Excuse me.
But we got to do the approval of the agenda. Is a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion for the
Sec-
full agenda, yeah.
A second?
Second.
Okay, agenda approved. Welcome and invocation, Evan Guthrie.
All right. Bow your
The
heads.
pledge, that's what he's doing.
Dear Lord, we ask that you give this board the wisdom, courage, knowledge, and guidance to do what's truly in the best interest of the 26,000 plus students in this district. And we ask continued blessings and health for all the staff, teachers, students, and administrators in this district as well. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now we'll do the. No, we're not. Well, we shouldn't have, but that's what Lee put. So,
Mr. Pye, I would like to make a motion.
okay, that's where I'm going to start now. Let me explain the rules for a second. The election of school board officers will begin now. Of course, we'll begin by asking for nominations for school board chair. You can nominate yourself, and there'll be no seconds. That's Robert's Rules of Order. We have verified that. Christie has, and so we will go through and take any of the nominations we have. If we have more, we only have one, we'll vote on the one. If we have multiple candidates, we will hear all the names, and then we'll take them one at a time to the first candidate gets the what do you call it? The majority of 4. And then that person gets that position. Then we'll go to the next one. So now, Ms. Crosby, you're free to
Well,
say.
Thank you.
You were going to let me.
I'd
Oh,
like
I'm
to-
sorry, Mrs. Robinson wanted to make a statement to the public.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to thank all of the board members, because it's a board meeting, for the 3 years that I have been allowed to serve, that you've elected me for 3 years to do that. It has been a blessing. It has been with great gratitude that you gave me that trust, and I appreciate that. I've learned so much from you all, from all of you out there, and I've learned so much from Mr. Pye. It's been a wonderful run. We have a great district in spite of what we're dealing with COVID, and I'm so proud to have had the honor. But after 3 years, I just felt it was time, and all of y'all already knew that it was time to allow someone else to have that opportunity. So thank you so much for allowing that for me.
Okay, with that said, Ms. Crosby, would you like to make a nomination?
I sure would. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Gail Hughes for chairman, please.
Gail Hughes, okay. Do we have other nominations? Is there another nomination for chairman? All right, hearing none, I need, let's see, I have it written out to make sure I don't break the law. Is there a motion on the floor to close the nominations?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Now, we'll go ahead and then they're closed for chairman. We only have one candidate, so those in favor of Mrs. Gail Hughes being the chairman for our school board, please raise your hand. All right, unanimous. So congratulations, Ms. Hughes.
Here, let's trade.
All right. I'll do the second one, and then we'll turn it over to the chairman. Same process. We can have multiple nominations. No second is necessary. To have a nomination for vice chair.
Mr. Pye, I nominate Justin Farnsworth as vice chair.
All right. We have a nomination for Justin Farnsworth for vice chair. All right. Do we have any other nominations? Is there someone else?
Yep, I nominate Tanya Robinson, vice chair.
You nominate Tanya Robinson for vice chair. All right. Is there any more nominations? All right. We have two candidates, Mrs. Robinson and Mr. Farnsworth. Mr. Farnsworth was nominated first, so those in favor of him being the vice chairman, raise your hand. Okay, 3. All right. That doesn't carry, so we go to the second person. Those in favor of Tanya Robinson being the vice chairman, show of hands. All right, we have the necessary 4 majorities, so Ms. Robinson, congratulations, you're the vice chair. All right, now with that, we'll turn it over to the chairman, who will then, she gets to appoint her board secretary.
Thank you all very much to begin with, and I would like to offer my appreciation to Ms. Robinson for everything she has done for this board and for this district over the last 3 years. She has been a wonderful chairman, and it's not going to be easy to follow in your footsteps, believe me. And we appreciate you. We appreciate your givingness and your thoughtfulness and working with us and trying to pull this board together as you have done over the last years. And thank you very much. And what I would like to do is, because I know this is kind of a given that we appoint the board secretary, or the chairman appoints the board secretary, but what I would like to do, if I could, is I would like to just postpone that until the next board meeting, until I have an opportunity. If everybody is okay with that, and just because I want to have some conversations, and just because I want to do what's the best thing, what's the right thing, and I would just like to have the opportunity to just talk with a few of you, in person and individually, and make that appointment at the next board meeting, if everybody is okay with that. Everybody good with that? Okay, thank y'all very much for allowing me to do that.
Public comment.
The next thing then on the agenda is public comments.
On the agenda.
On the agenda items, yeah. And I have not had an opportunity to look at these, so I don't know if any of these are on agenda items. Did you by chance look at them? And she's the only
Hers
one.
is on the agenda.
This is? Okay, so we do have one. I apologize. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to read them. Miss Mary Rita Watson? Okay, so we'll just defer that to later then. Okay? All right, then I need, the next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Board members, in your package, you should have received the minutes of the regular meeting of December 14th, 2020. I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Okay, a motion made by Mr. Guthrie, second. Y'all are gonna have to, Ms. Wimberly, bear with me here, I'm a little nervous, okay? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? And that's unanimous. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Mr. Pye?
Okay, as we've been doing, I have nothing additional to add, except that I've had a very rough time with this COVID, and I feel for anybody in the entire world that has it. I was so proud to be able to say that I had mild symptoms, and I was going to be fine. Well, after about 7 days, it got so bad that breathing was a problem, chest was a problem, coughing was nonstop, and I realized for a 73-year-old man, this didn't sound good, feel good, so I ordered my own x-rays through the doctor. It came from me, and sure enough, I'd had severe bout with pneumonia, and it was still present in my body. So I'm so glad that I went, because not just the effects of pneumonia can be deadly, but it also can affect you for years to come as it damages organs. So I'm glad I went, and that's the secret part of this virus that people still don't know, is the aftermath of things that could occur when those of us say, well, we only had it, we were quarantined for 14 days, it came in when it was no big thing. But for some people, it's a big thing, including death. But everybody doesn't experience it the same way as what I gathered. And I've talked to so many people who have found out about it and have called me or checked with me. And everybody has a different story and a different way it affected them. So it's still a lot of unknowns out there. And that certainly is things that we take into consideration, is it certainly has affected our school family. And I'm sure our families in the greater community have been greatly affected too, that we don't really know about. And the numbers that we've been receiving, especially over the holidays, are skewed, because if people are already home, they can quarantine and they don't feel they owe the school district any kind of explanation maybe for what they, have encountered, who they were in contact with. So we feel like the numbers that we have gotten have been somewhat reduced because of that, as far as in-house is concerned. So unless we had the bodies there when the children can't come, then the parents have to call and tell us why they're not there, and that's how we tend to know about it. Our teachers who can't report to work, that's how we find out about those things and are able to do some tracing and what have you. But with that said, we want to do an update on the learning model that we're in, what we're looking at, the conversations we've had, and talk to the board about if other further needs that you may see that you want to express as that we look at. And of course, I want to remind everyone that the district is committed to a contract we made with our employees, that we made with the public back in July, and on 4 occasions this board has approved, gone back and reevaluated and approved it. So, but we've told people that as we learn about this thing and we move forward, we have to remain flexible. And that's what we did with the K2, the 3-5, some of the things that we tried to do, and trying to bring back the elementary maybe ahead of the other groups. Those are all ideas that aren't perfect, but we're trying to be flexible and trying to establish some type of target for some type of hope of what we're going to do. The key to all of this is certainly the word balance. How do you balance it? And so you play the role of Solomon. I have long given up the role of, no matter what people think, including board, I'm not making decisions. The decisions are a joint. I have a shared leadership model, and I have about 50 to 60 people that we do canvas. We get their input, and that's sort of what guides us. But I've made it very clear every time I've had a conversation, my staff knows that, I start off with the glass half full. In other words, I don't want to go back and rehash it. What can we do to go face to face? How close are we? Is there any hope? What do we need to do? Do we need to go back to our model? How can we change it? Should we change it? How do we get that balance? Because I am concerned about the education of the children. That's why we're here as educators. But I'm equally concerned about the health of our staff in particular, as well as I am of the children. We did have a principal who's going to be here tonight to speak, and I will share her story. She's got permission from the mother that, since I don't use any names, it will be okay. But she has a child in her school that contracted COVID just prior to Christmas holidays, I think. And this child is living and not in the hospital at this time, but they've suffered some repercussions. There's some things that's going to haunt this child the rest of her life. There were definitely those side effects you read about and hear about. Children do not get it often. We all know that. We've seen the studies. But some of them that aren't carrying it or don't get it can still have it affect their body in a different way than it affects maybe the adults. And so this particular child's mother has been desperate as this child has had lots of health issues as a result, and it's really upset that school family. Also, Eagle Nest is a school with a high ESOL population, and she has a hard time with the children wanting to even be at, not only be at school, but to do anything. Like they will never take their mask off. They will go all day without eating. They refuse to take their mask off because their grandmother may die. That's the exact words this principal tells me this morning. I'm just repeating that. I wish she were here to do that, but she had to attend a funeral that went way late, and she needed to be there since it was a very close family member. But I thought I would share that again. Is these are the things that are out there. We're not making our decisions on emotions. I know we've been accused of that, as well as we've accused the public of making their decisions on emotions, convenience, and other things. I think we all have the same thing at hand. When are we getting back to school? But we're dealing with something about when are we going to understand this thing? We heard about the vaccinations. We're so excited. Are we going to get them, as some people have indicated, or will our teachers have access to this, employees, by the end of February? What we've been told it could happen. If so, that could be a game changer for us. I'm not saying we would wait for that, but it would certainly, I think, help people to have a better understanding and a feeling about it. But again, it's not going to be available to the general public, so we don't know how long those antibiotics will stay in the system. We're not sure if you can get this thing more than once. There's just lots of issues that are unsettled, and so many people weighing in on it. Well, all that said, we spent 6 hours on Friday, the executive committee and myself, trying to draw up things with the glass half full. We will be coming back to school when? Face to face. We started with that, and that was recommended to me, and I promised I did that. And then today we got with our principals, and it took a sudden change for the difference. And our principals are such team players, and I had 3 right off the bat to speak up that never speak up. And so it made quite an impression that they felt obligated to say, here's my concern. And so with that said, I've asked Ms. Canarans to give us a quick report. We're not going to get bogged in the weeds. I'm going to ask the board if you can hold your questions, jot them down somewhere so you don't forget, and we can get through this presentation shortly and succinctly. Then I think it'll make it easier for us to address the questions, because your question that you have early on may be answered before the presentation's out. So I think we could get this clearer, because it gets so hard to explain all this stuff. So Julie, if you'll catch them up on it, and then we'll talk to you about other things when we finish it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best here. Good evening, board members, Chair, and Mr. Pye. As we begin our brief presentation tonight, we want to provide you with an update on our data matrix. As you know, we have been diligent and will continue to be diligent in monitoring our data in our county and in our schools daily, and this includes the time that we were off during winter break and since we returned last week. I'm sure that you've all seen that our county remains in a high spread risk category, and the numbers have continued to rise significantly over the last weeks, as is happening in all other counties across the state and nation. For more specific information, I'd like to ask Mr. Thad Schmink to jump in and lead this part of the presentation. And Thad is going to do that remotely for us.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So this evening I've been asked just to quickly review some of the data regarding COVID, so everybody gets a quick update. First, just taking a look at some basic DHEC numbers. As we can see, our 7-day moving average is ever increasing. I think the only thing to really point out here is that obviously our peak is much higher, perhaps even double that of what we experienced over the summer. In this next slide, see this is for all of state of South Carolina. Our displays of actual counted cases. As will be for the next few slides, time to see that will green bar to the right. Please note that that is the count that officially ended on the 9th. However, it will not complete its data for the next couple of days. It will take a little while for all of the data. On our next slide here, we can see our Westchester County compared to the state. Again, we are following that. And here we can see you are all very familiar with, just kind of laid out in one nice table. This is our weekly update that we get from DD2. And we can see that basically since Thanksgiving, our rate of, our incidence rate has significantly increased, practically tripling. And our positive rate has also significantly increased since Thanksgiving. It's no longer in the single digits, we're now up to 8.4%. As we reviewed last time, I just kind of want to quickly go over our zip code because it's a little bit closer to home for us. And as we talked about last time, the area codes, the zip codes ending in 483 and 485 are two largest. And we can see that the trend, both of them, for reported cases is increasing. Again, wanting to show that our reported cases are significantly, we're seeing the curve happen right here between 4,600 around Thanksgiving to 7,000 as of last week. We will get our new report for this particular piece sometime this week. On the next slide here, we also have our new case by zip code. And this is the part where I think a little alarming, and that, remember, these are new cases. It's a number that is adding on to itself. So we could see in early November, we had about 1,800 or so new cases. Just before Thanksgiving, we had 2,400 cases. And then we started to see an increase. And the last report here is by every 2 weeks. We were up to 10,200 new cases. So basically every 2 weeks, we have practically quadrupled our numbers since Thanksgiving. And another thing that I wanted to quickly point out is that these numbers are significantly gaining. And we have not yet seen in South Carolina the new strain, which is reportedly more contagious and easily spread. In case you are wondering which states are experiencing it, Florida and Georgia, which obviously are close by, are states where they have experienced this new strain. And bringing it back down to the school level, wanted to just touch base real quick on our numbers. As you can see, as right now to date, we've had 190 staff members tested positive, 278 for our quarantine staff. This is year to date. This is not who is currently quarantined. Is 310, and the number of students to date is 1,272. In case you're wondering what the gray square represents, this is the period of time, of course, when we were out for our winter holidays. And after speaking with several colleagues across the state regarding our COVID numbers, we're all concerned that the numbers that we are reporting for our in-school could potentially be a little bit low, as many parents may not have taken their students to the doctor or to get tested if their child only experienced a mild or moderate symptom and was over very quickly at The concern is that maybe many parents didn't have time, or they didn't feel it was severe enough risk potentially affecting something office to have a student tested. So just want to point that out, a concern, like I said, that was shared amongst my colleagues statewide regarding how well we can trust our numbers. And just also, again, wanting to show that since that Thanksgiving, we can see that our team has pretty much doubled, and our positive rate for students has more than tripled, along with our positives. And that's all I have to present this evening.
You'll stay close by and on the line so that at the end of the presentation, if there are questions, you'll be available to answer them. So as we continue, I'd like to take a moment just to review with everyone our original plan that you can see now has been put back on the screen. As you know, this is the plan that we developed in July and August, and that, as Mr. Pye said, has been publicly supported several times since. This is the plan that teachers base their decision to teach on. This is the same plan that parents base their decisions when choosing their preferred instructional model, either school-based or the virtual academy. Since this plan was developed and executed, we've added new metrics, including our countywide individual zip code and our school and district dashboard. We've put health and safety protocols in place. We've worked with other agencies and businesses to make physical modifications to our classroom. And we've also, in the air of being flexible and responding to the needs of the community and our children, we've made modifications to the original plan, as we always wanted to be flexible. But we have continued to work with our principals to plan for the return of more and more students to face-to-face instruction, because at the end of the day, we all know this is the best instructional model. But the cold, hard reality is that we are not likely to move to a low disease spread risk. The metrics we originally were looking for, as you can see in this model, anytime soon, and perhaps not at all this school year. So with this recent trend sharply moving upward instead of decreasing, we're at a crossroad. We don't want to knowingly be a vehicle for spread. We want to keep our staff, our students, and our families safe and healthy. And at the same time, we want to bring our students back. So where do we go for the next 2-week period and beyond? As Mr. Pye said, over the last week, we have had meeting after meeting, one lasting 6.5 hours, with our executive cabinet, our cabinet, and the principals. Our 58 to 62 member group that have been on the front lines since the beginning, to hash out a plan to move forward. We exhausted many different options, discussing the strengths and weaknesses of each one. I say again, we're very conflicted, as the data shows that if we are sticking to the original plan, we should remain in e-learning. But we know that this is not where we want to be. We know this isn't the ideal instructional or learning model for all students or for extended periods of time. It is better suited for temporary or emergency learning situations. We re-examined the hybrid model, as there were successes with this model as well. But again, we know that this model isn't for everyone either. This model does, however, give teachers, administrators, and other staff the opportunity and ability to actually see their students face to face. This is so very important for all. Finally, we looked at the feasibility of moving to a full face-to-face model throughout the district. What would that look like? What would be the time frame? At the end of the day, this very large team remains concerned about the health and safety of everyone and agrees that this is not to be the opportune time to make that transition fully. We are generally ready. We are generally poised to move forward. However, we are concerned about the current trends and remain concerned about the health and safety of everyone. Through all of these discussions, as Mr. Pye said, we tried valiantly to take emotions and our personal opinion and biases based on the fact that many of us, me included, have either had the virus or have had otherwise been impacted by the virus out of the discussion. We wanted to be objective. I will tell you that once you are personally impacted by this virus, your outlook tends to change. At least mine did and has. We knew it was important to make our decisions and recommendations based on facts and data, something that we have tried to do, and I would say we have been successful with since the beginning of this pandemic. And our recommendation tonight is no different. So again, after much conversation, we pared down our options, taking the best parts of each one, and ultimately came up with one that we feel is the best balance between education and safety. Therefore, members of the board, it is the recommendation of this committee that we, go ahead, Thad, thank you, we remain on district-wide e-learning for the next 2-week period. As we have always done, we will continue to closely monitor all data metrics and make modifications to plan accordingly. It is our sincere hope that the metrics will begin to decrease and begin trending back downward to the medium category or close to it over these next couple of weeks, and that we can return to our hybrid model in the beginning of February with a planned transition to full district-wide face-to-face instruction mid to end of February. We will continue to closely monitor students' assessments, progress, and grades in order to make sure students are continuing to learn and move in the right direction. And that concludes my report.
I would suggest very quickly that you throw back at what the original metrics were, because as I've said all along, that's what we came up with in July. A lot has happened since July, and even though we talk about the differences, I feel that as a board, you have supported this 4 different times because of our recommendations, but as we deal continuously with our desire to be face-to-face, is there some of these metrics that maybe should be something different? Do you want to change the verbiage to say that we're not waiting for low risk based on what we have? It's just what we're seeing is the things going through the roof. It's tripled since all of our data. So how do you change something and put people in danger when it's so obvious it's really changing? No matter how you believe in it or not, there's enough there to say we got a problem, a big problem out there. However, I just feel based on all we've heard and read that it's spiking, and we probably will begin to see relief, I hope, by the end of this month. And so we're open to that being, hopefully that we will be in a position if the hours are down instead of all up, we see things just pointing downward. At that point, I have no problem entertaining from anybody, what is the time going to be? And because I'm honestly, for it to say low again in all the areas, I don't think it's going to happen this year. So let's just be honest with it. So if we plan to have school, at what point do we feel that with all this stuff we've done with the mask and with the plexiglass and social distancing, and in elementary, I've told you all along, I feel comfortable that we've got that covered. But the high schools and middle may never be covered. So at what point do we just bite the bullet and do what our neighbors have done, and they've gone there, and they're still making, even though one of our neighboring counties has told me that it could change this week. So it's there. We have had contact with District 4. I think they made an announcement today, this morning, on their website that they're going to stay e-learning until February, was it 19th?
I think it was end of January.
End of January. So we've already heard from them, and they're doing the same thing that we're doing. Of course, we're in much better shape than they are with technology and hotspots and reception, Wi-Fi and all. So, because if we were in that situation, I'm not sure how I'd feel about that many disconnected students, if they have them. Evidently they don't. They've obviously corrected it, but I know our technology is very advanced here. It's about as good as any district can have. We have tried to check around to other districts. Beaufort County went straight into face-to-face first day back from Christmas break. I'll be talking to that superintendent at length on Monday as my conference, and I can't wait to find out how's it going this first week. What did you see, as well as attendance, teachers? How is this going over for you? Georgetown and us have been following almost the same plan, even though we don't plan to do it. And I think they've announced, was it last week towards the end, that they made the announcement they're going to stay in e-learning and then move to hybrid?
Yes, sir. Their current plan in their statement is that barring anything unforeseen with the numbers, they will remain in e-learning through the 15th and return to hybrid on the 19th.
And our model doesn't say we would necessarily return to hybrid. It's up for discussion. We did have in our group that that we have to do e-learning, basically not just because of the numbers. Our food service company needs 10 school days. So that would start, no matter what we decide tonight, would start tomorrow. So that puts us January 22nd on that Monday. That could be our day to do something other than e-learning. So we could move it up 1 week.
Correct.
We just included to the end of the month was what everybody felt was the best bet for the conditions, and giving another week to get these numbers, at least the hours down, that could justify, you know, why are you moving when the number's going through the roof? Well, we're seeing a tapering off. It's coming down. We don't know how fast it's coming down, but it's coming down to a point that we feel like the spike is over, and we with the things we have in place, we can do that. And what I would do at that time, if it's still before the semester break of February the 2nd, is to remind parents who are in the academy and parents who are in this model, hoping to get back face-to-face if they're not in other words, to choose which is it you want, and not necessarily vote with 26,000. I'm going to assume the people are all in the right places. Maybe 1,000 or 2,000 would switch back and forth, and we're prepared for that. So that could be another issue that's done. I would sleep better at night knowing, at least on the student side, that parents made the choice, knowing that social distancing may or may not occur, particularly at middle and high school to some level. They're making that choice. That's them. I can't put that on my conscience. But I still have to deal with the employees. If teachers start going out by large numbers, we would have to close the school, and perhaps for 14 days. And so there'll be nothing. If the teachers are really in bad shape, have to be hospitalized or any of those kinds of things, then e-learning would be suspect. But that's what we would have to go back to. So that's all the stuff we talked about, and none of this do we know how it's going to go. Like I said, we sit here and we see neighboring counties doing face-to-face, and they're moving right along, marching right along, and have been. And so, if it works for them, why wouldn't it work for us? I understand that when parents say that. I asked the same question. When they announced they were doing it, I thought they were crazy. But they're making it work for whatever reason. I know I did have a parent, and I need to respond, that we've been talking back and forth about some of the safety things that we have, that we're going to maybe make this a prison for children, because we're asking them, when they do come back, to wear masks, to do the plexiglass, and all these things are inhibited learning and the freedom of children talking and working together, the things that they're used to doing that has changed their lifestyle, that could cause many of these children some emotional problems, and we know that. So, but then it was the comparison with Pinewood and how they're not wearing the masks or doing the things. Well, I have checked this out. Pinewood has a limit. No class at Pinewood exceeds 15. 15. No class at Woodland High School exceeds 20. So if I had 20 at Somerville High School as my top, we could do the face-to-face. We would make it work. It would be wonderful. But when you have 30 and 35 in some classes, you just can't do it. I don't care how much plexiglass you have, it's just not going to work. You're getting within the 3 feet that they claim that might work. So I need to keep this on. I should have learned my lesson by now. But these are all the things we've debated. It's really an emotional, for me, it's just been an emotional roller coaster. I agree with every email I get. I don't care who it's from, how nasty they are. They all want me to die tomorrow morning. I get over that, and I see their frustration as a parent with their job schedules, with babysitting, their child's learning methods and modes, especially if they're young children, special needs children, and children that have, in the past had the strugglers to learn. They need that teacher prompting them and coaching them. And I know even on our hybrid schedule that people found fault with, the silver lining was we did have physical contact with all of our children. We were able to see them. If it was only 2 days a week, we got to make a contact. We've got to really verify that they were there, and we could check right there how well they were understanding what they were learning and what teachers needed to reteach. So we've looked at all that. Like I said, we've spent hours upon hours, and this is sort of the plan we're bringing to you is what you asked me to do. That's the recommendation from the district. But if we want to move into these other areas, I would feel better that we, for our employees' sake in particular, that we revisit the original plan in July and make whatever changes are necessary that will allow us to move into wherever we need to move. I would just feel better, and that would make you, I think, feel better too, that we don't have to keep having this battle of who's right and who's wrong. We have a plan, and we've decided with what we've done, because back in those days, nobody knew about plexiglass. They didn't know about anything, and so many things. We didn't even know about masks back in July. You know, we had people saying it was ridiculous and don't bother to wear them and all this kind of stuff, and we just didn't have any data. And that's before all these people started dying and all this other stuff that we all know the media exaggerates so much that you really can't listen to them. I've decided I can't deal with the media anymore. They just carry on about things, and then they turn around and criticize you if you're not doing things to try to prevent it, but yet again, they don't support it when they're out there. So I've said enough on that. I could preach all night long. I need the board to ask questions, give any direction that you'd like to give, and we're here to please.
I'd just like to make a comment. I'm sure you've probably already done this, but have we reached out to our employees, our bus drivers, our custodial workers, our teachers, and that, just to see who, if we did give the parents an option, either face-to-face, full-time face-to-face, or virtual, who would be on board with that? Who would be, in with working, driving the buses and being, coming in to teach, or who would want to go virtual? Just so that we could get some kind of a number there to find out where
we would have to update that because it's changed every time. And so we've done it several times. I don't know if we've done it with the bus drivers, but we would need to, because we would be increasing the numbers. And I think with that we can't leave them out of the mix because they're driving that bus.
I agree.
And they have no control over those 60 kids or 40 kids, whatever's on the bus.
Yes, I agree with that. And that's why I'm asking if we've reached out to them and we've reached out to...
We could do a better job of those groups. We've really reached out to the teachers mainly.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's important too. We need to hear from the teachers, but there's other people that are involved that we also need to hear from.
Right.
But because I think it's getting to the point that we need to come to some kind of a decision, and we need to put it back into the parents, let them make that decision as to whether they send their children to school or whether they keep them home. But of course,
that's our desire.
And the parents will ultimately keep their children safe, but we're responsible for keeping our staff safe. And so that's why I was asking if we've reached out with that. Have we?
See, once you ask the parents to make that commitment, you have to offer it. You can't say, Ms. Hughes, would you like a white car or a red one? Oh, I've always wanted a red one. Oh, by the way, we don't have any red ones. Well, then why did I ask you that?
Well, that's
so
why
we got to be very careful that whatever we say, it's got to be a matchup. We've got to have teachers to be able to teach. My guess is, as frightened as they are, we could lose a few dozen because it's real, and now that I've experienced it, I think that we've got some folks that rightfully are very frightened because of their home situation. But people have to have a job. People have tried to make it work. Their spouses are in the mainstream doing the work, still bringing home whatever to the elderly person in the house. So just because the teacher is protected doesn't mean the house is protected if there's a spouse working out in the public. So all those things we've talked about, and they kind of go hand in hand. I guess my point tonight was, and I don't want to take away from Julie's wonderful presentation and what our people have expressed, but if it needs to be a change, I think we need to consciously make that change as our roadmap, because right now my roadmap says detour, and I don't know anything else to do but detour when all the signs say there's an avalanche above the road here, then why would I continue to go there? So if
So how do you propose we do that? Because I feel like we have asked to do that.
you have asked, but not as a board.
Okay.
As a board, no one's ever really approached that. You come back each time we've had a serious conversation and supported the way we did it. But yet again, I still get individual concerns and complaints, not just from parents and all, but from y'all asking questions, why not? And this is the place to ask that question. Y'all need as a group to give us some kind of consensus of what you're feeling.
Ask you to change the model? Is that what you're saying?
Or how would you change it? I think we're open to that.
Well, maybe that's something that we should consider doing a workshop on, so that we can have that discussion and everybody can bring it all to the table. So, because I agree, it's kind of like a policy. When you're given a direction, you have to follow that direction, and even though things may change along the way, sometimes they have to be tweaked. Those directions have to be tweaked, and maybe this is the time.
Yeah, I agree, because things have changed a lot since this plan.
A lot.
Which was a great plan, and the information that we had there based off that, it's excellent. But again, we know a lot more now, and there is much more at our fingertips that we can access and information that we can get.
Okay.
I know I had sent you several names.
You
of
have,
people,
and she's been following up on
I
it.
think if we were able to have a workshop, invite some of these people to come in, I think that would be very helpful if we're trying to move forward and come up with a new plan.
Ms. Crosby?
Mr. Pye, first let me say I'm just so grateful that you and Julie and Glenn, all of y'all that had it, that you came through it and that you're at least on the road to recovery.
Thank you.
I really do. And I appreciate all the time and efforts being in here. I hope you don't mind if I share that email I sent with you.
Please.
Do you mind?
Yes, no, I want you to.
All right. I don't know how many people that are watching have watched the news closely. Molly Spearman and the governor have said, give your parents a choice. Let it be the parents' choice, but either full-time or virtual. We can't do this in-between stuff because they're just not getting it. This is from the superintendent, which has come from me and a lot of other people too. And they said, let it be the parents' choice, like you said. But you can't give them these e-learning, hybrid, full-time. You can't go all those different steps. You just can't maneuver all that. And I think we've come to the point, and I agree fully that the numbers are high. I'm not saying that. And I'll go back and say again that I have a third grader that comes home to me every day, or was when we were in hybrid or whatever. And as I'm on the same end of the scale you are, Mr. Pye, as being that elderly person, and praise the Lord, I might get the COVID and drop dead tomorrow. But I still believe that they need to be in school. And I know as a third grade teacher, and this is not against teachers, not against teachers at all, because I believe they are busting their butt.
They're doing a great
They
job.
are trying to
Great
manage,
job.
they are trying to manage all of these kids on a screen, especially elementary I'm referring to. They're trying to manage those. Some of them are sleeping, some of them are, different situations. But I know as a third grade teacher that my third grader grandchild has not learned near what he should be learned at this point in third grade. And again, it's not the teachers, it's the time frame, and it's the, just the situation, I guess, that they can't be there with them one-on-one and whatever. I'm hoping that when you make that next decision, or like you said, adjust the model, whatever you need to do, that would be the option. That either we go full-time or we go virtual. Because, like Julie said, it might not ever end. And I mean, we've done this for now, last year, we've done it this year. I mean, how many more years are these kids gonna fall behind? And I'm not saying every child, we know that some children are gonna,
We've lost 3 9 weeks.
huh?
The last 9 weeks of last year and the first 2 9 weeks of this year.
Yeah.
So we've already lost 3 9 weeks. Only
Yeah.
one more 9 weeks, and it's a whole
And like I
school
said,
year.
there's really nobody to blame, Mr. Pye, unless we want to blame the Chinese, I guess. But there's really nobody to blame, and I understand that. And like I said, I highly support these teachers for the job that they're doing. And maybe you could start off slowly, like start with elementary and then middle, and together, and then move to the high school as you can,
All those were options that we actually have in writing that we've discussed. If you could have been in those things, you would have seen it. I mean, we had a different recommendation 3 or 4 times Friday and today than we are giving you today.
Well, I'm going to ask you.
I mean, it's changed because everybody is ready. We're just tired of this. But again, the numbers doesn't make it easy for us to do. So I
And
think
Julie-
that's our problem with the numbers.
And you and Julie, please put that as a recommendation, that in this next move, the 20-something of this month, that be the choices.
Yes, ma'am.
Either full-time or virtual, and the parents can make that choice. And that's just the way it is. And we're not going to fight you over whether or not you can go to work or whether or not you can, you know.
Well, that's the semester thing, and for high schools and middle, we have to change to any schedules we're going to change, and we really have to lock it in. Even if we did something for a couple of weeks into the semester, the children would be in their new schedules. Just like we have to give the EOC test later, and these kids will not be in their classes. If they're in an algebra class now, they'll be in something else second semester. How do we test them in the EOC for the first? We've got some real issues. So we've been looking at all those things, and the high schools have different things to deal with than elementary and middle, and probably the only thing in common was the risk factor of health. That is the one thing that's in common, and that's why I'm saying, is how our entire model was based. And so if we're going to veer from that, want to be flexible, just like we did the K2, the 3-5, and you had those suggestions yourself, and we did them, and we had a lot of pushback, and at the end of the day, people, I won't say it doesn't replace face-to-face, but they got to see the kids every day, even if it was just for a few hours. That meant a lot to everybody, and I've heard a lot of favorable comments that that's the next best thing. But we didn't offer that to anything but the elementary. And middle have the same issues, particularly middle. And then high school, the higher up you get, the better they can handle the virtual piece. But so many kids, I worry about a lot of our 9th graders. It's just so hard being a high school student overnight and then having this where you can't have a teacher right there. I can see I would personally have a terrible time. And so I sympathize with that. And we are here to educate children, so we got to keep remembering that is our mission.
Okay, Ms. Robinson?
Well, I would just appreciate that being on the
Okay,
agenda.
thank you. I appreciate your comments.
And, just give the parents the choice. Let's move on.
Well, just listening to Ms. Canaris tonight, and I'm glad that you're feeling better. You used the word, this is your recommendation to us, but we don't vote on what y'all decide. We haven't done that. So we get criticized as board members for the decisions that we did not vote on.
But see, my recollection is 4 occasions this board did vote to support the
We
school district's
support it,
recommendation.
but it's your decision.
Right, but if you don't support it, you don't need to vote for it. If you've got an issue, you need to speak your ground, and I'm not taking it personal, negative. I think you need to be the voice of thousands of people out there.
And that's what
who
we're
think
trying
like
to
you.
do.
And we want
Excuse
you
me.
to share that, so we keep it out front. Whether it pressures us into changing anything or not, I don't know.
But
I think it needs to be ever present that we don't forget these things.
And that's why we appreciate it, but
Yes.
at one meeting, and you all know this, at one meeting, we got a ding, a text message, and that's when we found out during the meeting what the next 2 weeks was going to be. We did not know what that was before that. So what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the defense, I'm just trying to be perfectly honest. The board has not made those decisions. Yes, we have supported what y'all have done, and we have agreed that what you're doing makes scientific sense. What we're saying right now is you have said this is our recommendation. It's a little confusing when you're saying this is our recommendation to you. I think what Ashley said and what Ms. Hughes said, we do need a workshop. I was in a restaurant the other night, and I could overhear two little boys talking to their parents about how hard it was to get back in the room because their Wi-Fi keeps getting kicked out. And I said, I don't mean to be listening in, and I told her I was on the school board, and whatever information we could get from parents, from teachers, we listen and we take it to Mr. Pye, and we take it to the right sources. She said, I will pay you my salary if you let my child go back. He is on the high end of the autism spectrum, so he's going deeper and deeper into a world that we don't want him in. And the little boy says, Mom, don't embarrass me, but I don't like being on the screen. I get kicked out. I mean, he's giving me all these reasons. It was the most sincere thing. So I know what y'all are up against. I think we want y'all to know what we're up against. Today, just while we're sitting here, I've gotten 7 emails, very credible emails from parents begging us to pick one or the other. They want virtual for those who want virtual. They understand that, which we've come a long way since the beginning where they didn't even understand that.
They didn't.
But now there's also people that are saying, I want my child back. Screen time for a 6-year-old for 6 hours is ungodly. And they're fighting and they're crying and they're going in their room and they're not acting like my child. Their grades are failing. We are all getting the same emails, but we want to support you because we know that y'all too, we don't sit in those 6-hour meetings, so we don't have all the information. But I think a workshop would fulfill so many needs for us to be able to decide quickly which way we want to do. Do we do virtual and face-to-face and let the parents decide? Like you said, Mr. Pye, we have to be ready if they do say face-to-face, or if they say virtual, we need to be ready.
We have to be ready, because if that's what it says, and I know we will get a large number, then we need to be ready to do it.
Well, didn't you say the lunchroom?
Let's wait to July, we'll think about it. The issue is, that's the verdict. We ask you that, or we don't need to ask you unless we're prepared to do it.
Mr. Pye, didn't you say that it would take 10 days for the lunchroom?
Yeah, the Sodexo has asked for that 10-day window.
So if they started preparing now, whichever way we go, you're going to go ahead and tell them to start preparing?
If that's what we're going to do, but the recommendation is they're already doing whatever they're doing would continue for 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks. I
Okay,
think
but
it
that's
shows
what you're
3,
saying is that for
but
2
it can
weeks, though, that would give
That's
them.
why the 3rd week is on there, but because of EOC exams and because of some other issues, food service could be ready to go on the 22nd, so that would move it up 1 week. I just want you to know we've exhausted them.
That's what I meant.
We put the 29th, we felt that was, based on the numbers, it would give us another week, but that gives us another week on the front end to know we're moving to something else.
That's what I
Whether
meant.
it just be hybrid, at least we're moving away from the e-learning. But if not,
No.
if we're ready for the face-to-face, then we can announce that. You see on here that the recommendation that we made did say February 15th. We would be going to that throughout. That doesn't mean the elementary couldn't start on the 2nd like we had proposed before Thanksgiving. That we've been poised to do that. Those are still on the table. But and those dates can change a little, but we can't wait to February 10th to announce that we're going to start on the 11th. We need to kind of plan ahead. Those were the dates we put based on our best estimates, because I've heard from all of you, just put something out there for hope for people to know we are gearing to move in that direction.
Well, Mr.
I'm
Pye,
sorry it's not quick enough, but at least we're doing what you asked us to do, because we're playing with all these variables that we have no control with.
Well, Mr. Pye, I'd appreciate you, like you said, the 10 days, that would be the 22nd. And that we could, if we're going to have a workshop, that maybe we could give those parents that option on the 22nd, either come back or do virtual. And I appreciate that consideration.
Go ahead, Ms. Robinson, I know you had.
What were you saying about the 15th? What was that? I missed that. I'm sorry.
On our plan, go back to that screen.
said
It
the
says on the
beginning of
15th that that's when we were hoping to go back to face-to-face, certainly hybrid. I mean, our plan is to do something.
Do you anticipate that we're not gonna be low?
It'll be what
No,
now?
ma'am, we would
No.
go, we would return regardless of, we would be abandoning the first plan and
That's-
moving back face-to-face, either in a medium or a high category.
Because we changed by getting what the parents want, also looking to see if the in-house data, which has been fairly decent, still supports
Yes.
that, then we can hang our hat on that and what we hear from the medical
Right.
experts.
Because,
that
I
we-
mean, I agree with you, and you say, if we stick with this plan, we're probably not going back. I mean, I think we can all just, it's unlikely.
Yeah, we
And so, yeah.
But we were buying another 2 or 3 weeks to hopefully at least get the peak to end and people see the arrows down. There won't be the numbers we want, but I think we have to, you can't make that move at the height and the numbers are going through the roof. I think you gotta have some semblance that we're leveling off and that we're gonna be moving down, and then we can assess, which we've done, can we handle that? And as I said, in elementary, we probably could if the numbers hold up about how well our kids and teachers are faring. That could be an issue.
So just to ask another question about what you just mentioned, so, and this might be for Mr. Schmink, I don't know if he's gone, but, obviously, the numbers in the community, in the county, you're saying we're tripling, they're going up, but what about in our schools? I know he had a slide on that, it was very difficult to understand.
It
what he
was,
saying.
it has gone up, and of course, we're the,
Yeah, it was hard to see as well.
because they're e-learning and we had to break, those numbers are not really accurate, in my opinion. I think
Well, but we were hybrid for a long period of time, so we can look at those numbers. What was
we
happening during
would,
that
and
time?
those numbers
So that's my
indicated
question
we were
now.
doing,
Can
we were doing okay.
We were good. We weren't going up at the same rate
No,
as
ma'am.
the.
That was our bright
Not on the
spot.
hybrid model.
Right, correct. So I think, but I do think it's fair to consider that as a piece of important data.
It is
What
important.
was happening in our school was not the same as what we saw happening in our community in this county.
But that's where I'm going back to say, if that's the will of the folks, then we need to state that, so, because that's not what our deal in July said.
No,
Because we
right.
didn't have that information then.
Yeah, no, I
And that,
agree. I
but we
think
told
we need to
people at every
revisit
meeting, and
that.
nobody wants to hear that, but we kept saying we're gonna be flexible. So when we did the K2, I got eat alive, how dare you, you said you were gonna do so and so and so. I never said we were gonna be anything but flexible. I didn't change the metrics. I changed what we felt we could do with what was happening in our schools with numbers and plexiglass and masks and all those things. At the end of the day, we felt comfortable with it. And I told y'all I did not with middle and high school. But,
I agree. I think it's a fair idea to revisit the metrics at this point with new knowledge. Let's get that information in here and let's look at it.
and
consider
then you
that.
can determine, oh, I didn't understand it that way. I've not changed my mind on that. I still think we should stick to this. Or can we maybe skew it more this way? I want you to have some input in a way that we're not reacting and we're not emotionalizing, but that we are solution finding and trying to help us have the facts to tell our employees and to be able to tell the public that we're united, even though we're very different in our approaches. And my team knows my feeling, and they know that I'm putting up quite a front for you. So I'm going to be very blunt with you. I've got some real issues with all of this, both sides. I'm all over the place, and I don't think I'm thinking clearly about any of this because of my personal experience changed one aspect of what I'm doing. But I am a competitor. I'm an educator for 51 years. I have top test scores. My children I've never failed a child in my life as a principal or as a teacher. I don't believe in that. I think everybody has worth. My goal is when you fail a child, did you fail them? And when I had a teacher to sit there and say, well, I could have done, well, then you failed them. So I'm not going to fail those children. So next year, you're going to move to third grade, and you're going to get to teach them again. And what you didn't do, you're going to do next year. I mean, I had statements like that, and it made it harsh, but I think I got the philosophy out that we really are about these kids succeeding. That's why we're here.
And I agree, and I feel that on my shoulders
I
as
know you
well.
do.
And it's important to me, and
I know that.
So I appreciate you saying that, because I think we all do. I think we all do.
Mr. Pye, what is this about the $8,600 or something that the governor's going to give each district that goes back full-time? What is it? 86,000, 80, what is it?
Haven't heard that.
I ain't heard it.
Oh, yeah, it was on the news. That's where I heard it from. That's where I got it
Well, I
from.
know back in the very beginning.
No, this
the
was
s-
recently when
the
him and-
16 districts that did something, he praised them, and wrote letters and carried on about it, and told the rest of us how awful we were. That's what our governor did, but,
Only thing I heard was, like I said, I heard it briefly, it was just, a caption, and I didn't pay attention, that he was given I think it's 86,000?
oh, he's gonna give up the money that he has, it's millions. It's like 98 million. He has a fund. He wants to give it, remember, some to higher ed and some to private schools, and that's still an issue with him in the private schools. I think that's what I read.
Mr. Pye, we've got some more
I'm sorry.
questions and comments down here.
Well, first of all, just to ease things, every member of this board commends you, and everyone that has worked so hard. Our teachers have gone. I talked to a teacher that is so positive, and she said she's
Every
never
day.
worked harder than she has this year. So please know those are two different things. We commend you. We know we aren't in all of those meetings that you're in, and we don't understand. But when our constituents are wanting to know things,
And they're not in it either, so they know
no.
less than you.
So, and we hear plexiglass is helping and all the sanitation is, we're feeling better and better about it, and that's why we're thinking the things we're starting to think now is maybe it can be either or in the next few weeks to come. But please know, this is nothing against our coveted superintendent. We're all
No,
in this,
I
and
don't
it's
take it that way.
emotional.
I'm very frustrated for you. I'm extremely frustrated, and I'm the closest person in this room to it. And if I'm frustrated, I'm having a hard time articulating to you all the things that we have to look at. And it's not a simple Solomon, this or this. We now give the teachers and the employees the benefit of the doubt for semesters, so now it's the parents' turn. I don't operate that way. It's nobody's turn. It's all of us are in this together, and it's health is, because of our model, has been the criteria that we have used. And so I'm saying with all the criticism and all the comments and what's happening out there, it's time maybe to revisit that. So if nothing else, you can have your piece of say. End of the day, you may say, as much as I don't like it, it was good, it's still good, we're gonna stick to it. But I think you need the chance to really massage it, talk about it, and us not make it a defensive issue. We're all on the same team. We're trying to find a way to make everything happen, keep our children safe, but also teach them.
And so, Ms. Hughes, can we schedule a workshop very quickly for that?
Yep. I will,
You have
Mr.
to
Pye,
give 48 hours notice.
Mr. Pye, if I can get with you sometime tomorrow so that we can try to get something together and schedule, and then I will let all of y'all know.
Because also, just to mention, Ms. Hughes, there's a few names that I had sent Mr. Pye,
Mm-hmm.
and that if we could try to work them in so that they would be available to be there.
Absolutely.
I think we
good.
can.
They will bring
Yeah,
information.
so if we could include them when we're just possibly.
Yeah.
Because it was very interesting from the conversations that was had with them that they are able to offer some various things to help us with the transition. Their whole purpose was how they can help us to bring children back. It wasn't you have to bring them back. Here's our data. That's not what I got. I got out of it that we know it's a problem. Let us help ease that by giving you
Maybe.
stuff that we know that may help.
Maybe what we can do is get with these people and find out when are a couple of good days that maybe they could come,
As
and then
soon
I
as
can
they
reach
come.
out. I could reach out to all of y'all and see which days work best for y'all, and then we'll work it that way. That's
Good
okay with
suggestion.
everybody.
That's a good suggestion.
Everybody okay with that? Okay, all right. Any other comments, Mr. Farnsworth?
Yeah, I just want to be careful, and I think it's fairly easy to sit in our seats, and I feel the brunt of it. I get the same emails everybody else gets. I get the messages, I get the phone calls, I get the text messages. And so it's very easy to sit in our seats and say, Mr. Pye, you need to give us the option of face-to-face or virtual. Those are the only two options. We need to put it back on parents. I agree, from our seats, it's a very easy answer. But I think if we're gonna do a workshop, I wanna make sure and we capture, from a logistical perspective, because again, the downstream effects that we haven't even started to talk about in this meeting, we've had a conversation for 45 minutes now. We haven't even gone down the rabbit hole, and that's part of the problem, because nor do I think it is the board's responsibility to look at that rabbit hole of logistics. But by us saying that, I can tell you right now, every single educator in our district, there are a whole, I'm talking thousands of parents, because we've seen the emails that chose one plan of action based on what we said we were gonna do, and so now if we're all of a sudden gonna shift that again, the logistics of that change. So again, so now we're talking about having to change classes, parents having to change schedules, we're talking about employment changes. I'm not saying boo to it. Again, I think what Ms. Wimberly is saying is correct. I'm open to everything. I want to hear every single option, but as part of that workshop, I just want to make sure that Mr. Pine, Ms. Canaris, whoever it is, factors into us
All the things.
as a board, all of that stuff, the downstream impact, the logistics. If we do this, if we give parents a choice on this date, parents, you will either choose the face-to-face model or you will choose virtual on this date. Specifically, what that does to the district. So I think before a workshop needs to be done, and I think it's gonna take more than 2 days, I think there probably need to be some more surveys, I think there needs to be more data. I would ask Mr. Pye, it sounds like in your discussions, and you meet pretty much every day, would you say hours on this
Yes.
topic every single day?
Yes, every day.
Has this specific discussion of, can we go back, can we offer the option of face-to-face versus virtual, has that specific discussion come up in your meetings?
Yes, a lot Friday and today in particular. The point is we've always been understanding that choice was given from day one. In other words, you choose the school model, which encompasses e-learning, encompasses hybrid, face-to-face. That's what it's all leaning to. We had those levels based on the health things. That's what it was. So you really made that choice. And if not, Virtual Academy was for you. But we had a number of people that choose the Virtual Academy. Their children aren't successful in it. They did it for whatever reason, and they're not happy with Virtual Academy. Not a lot, but some. Several hundred anyway. Same thing, the ones who chose face-to-face, the school-based model, have lost patience. We chose that back in, the summer, and here we are, second semester, looking at it, and there's been no change. What's given here? So I think that was what we were saying, that I'm getting some feedback from some of you that maybe it's time to look at that, to remind people. And I really believe that 90% of the Virtual Academy would stay intact, and I think 90% of the people who are in the track to go face-to-face would stay there. It's just coming to some conclusion that those of you who are fearful for health reasons and all, this is your chance to opt to do the second model. And this is what happened in Berkeley County, and I think Charleston's been back and forth. I don't know what they do down there, but
Well, Justin, you remember
Berkeley
this was a
supposedly did
recommendation.
that.
My point being, the fact of the matter is you've had the conversations, you're having these discussions in your meetings with your folks. And
Right.
so I go back to the point, and I've said this several times, as a board, I agree. We listen to the will of the people. We direct the school district. We create policy on how they're going to operate. I agree with all of that. But the fact is, for something like this, I don't understand. We've gone all sorts of directions on this thing. We've always supported what the district is saying, and now it sounds like we're shifting gears a little bit tonight to maybe look at something different. And I'm worried that goes down the path of not supporting the district. And I go back, I step back to the fact, I will always say this, the fact of the matter is Dorchester District 2 is a phenomenal district because of our staff, because of Mr. Pye. We've all said that in one way or another tonight, because of Mr. Pye and his administrative team and his educators and his teachers and his administrators. We are Dorchester District 2. We are Team Dorchester. We are the top of the peak. We are the #1 on realtors when they put a home for sale listed in DD2. Guess what? Because of Mr. Pye, his leadership team, and all those folks I just mentioned. And so if we as a board are going to sit up here and say, nah, I don't care. We're going to direct you how to do this. I know better than you. my concern, I just want us to be very, again, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm not open to it, because I'm open to listening to every single idea. If we come to a workshop and it makes sense and Mr. Pye says, yes, you know what, we can make that happen, we can make this decision happen, I'm all about listening. But I will just tell you personally, for me personally, I want us to be very careful as a board in the way we take recommendations from the district and how we proceed with those recommendations. Because if we're not gonna follow them, then I think we lose the trust of our district very quickly. The cycle will get worse, and we are gonna be in bigger trouble than we potentially think we will be in.
To go along with what you
Just
said,
remember now, what
Thank
I
you.
said was a recommendation, was from the governor and the superintendent.
I just want to add one comment. I won't preach a sermon to Justin. What he says is all absolutely exactly the words of our principals today and our staff. Yes, everything we've talked about is very important to them, but the most important thing to them is the welfare and the health of their students, but most importantly, their staff. Without the staff, we can't have schools. So we're still back to that square that our staff is very important. And my principals who never speak up, I couldn't believe it. They literally were in tears telling us about we're not ready for our employees. Our employees are not ready, Mr. Pye. And social distancing, particularly at middle and high school, will be zero. And are we comfortable with 30 kids in the room? You might as well take that plexiglass and throw it out the window. I'm not wild about it being the high school anyway. I think it's a joke, but most of it was given to us free, and everybody else is doing it. We have to go on record. We've tried everything. We're trying to do everything we can to minimize the spread, but there is no guarantee that any of this is going to work. So, and we have large numbers of kids. So we're really at a crossroads. You know, giving these children the quality education our district is known for, which no matter what model we use, no model is as good as face-to-face. We all admit that, and I can't sit here and defend it otherwise. And then we have to look out for the whole reason we're here. If children aren't safe, and most particularly our staff is not protected, then we will not have the school district's quality that we've known. So one leads to the other, and I don't know if it's the chicken before the egg or whatever, but it's that type of scenario. They go together. That's why I can't be Solomon and split it. It really is one thing. We have to look at the whole entity and all aspects of it. So thank you for those comments. You have something, I think, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, listen, we've been talking about this for a long time tonight. It was said earlier that the district makes the decisions, that we as a school board are held accountable for those decisions, but we have had many opportunities, as Mr. Pye has invited us on several times, to override him, which thankfully we have not, because I still maintain we do not know more than Joe Pye, Julie Carnarens, Glenn Huggins, the entire DD2 folks that make up those 58 to 62 members of that cabinet. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You know, if we didn't get to be this good of a district because of our 7 board members. We got to be this good of a district and this excellent of a district because of Mr. Pye and his leadership and his team around him. Like I said before, if you guys think y'all know better than Mr. Pye and the district leadership, then that's on y'all. But I'm sticking with Mr. Pye and the leadership of DD2. And I think it's almost preposterous, because I said to myself on the way over, certainly we're not going to talk about sending students back to school with these crazy numbers, and yet we are. I know we run into people in the restaurants, we get emails, we get text messages, we get phone calls. I'm sorry, that's great, they can reach out to us, that's their right, but it's also our right to do the right thing. And that is, until further notice, I'm supporting the district and their recommendations, because they know a heck of a lot more than I do about this. And they know a lot more than all of us.
And we have supported the district, Brian. I take a little bit of exception to that. I think we have been great board members in doing that, because we do believe in that. But we also answer to constituents, and we are not saying, you've got to do this, Mr. Pye or Dr. Canarins or Dr. Huggins. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, help us understand. Parents are wanting this or this. What do we tell them? I think that is being an advocate as a school board member, and I think that's extremely important. That's why we got elected. I've been around Mr. Pye for so many years, I feel like he's part of my family. He knows how I feel about him, but he also knows it's our duty to ask questions, and I do think a workshop, and of course, Mr. Farnsworth, we're going to have Julie and Glenn and Joe. We never have a workshop without them. So
I would suggest we add the principals to this one.
Yeah, that'd be
We've got
great.
to have the people at the crossroads to
Absolutely.
hear both sides and talk about it. I think that will be a great dialogue.
But we've never had one where we didn't invite our team. We know better. We're more mature than that. So please understand, as board members, we're in a very difficult, just like you are, we're in a very difficult role, but we really don't make the decisions. We do say we approve what you have decided, but we need to understand everything, and we need you to understand what we're hearing, not like wah, 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 but because that's who voted us in. So we have different roles, and I think if we work together, it's going to be fine.
Mr. Pye, can the governor mandate
No,
for us to go either full-time, or can he do that?
you
or-
cannot do it, neither can Mrs.
I know Spearman couldn't, but I'm just saying, can the governor
Neither one
mandate?
of them, no.
I think I opened a major can of worms, but I don't think that, my question was, have we looked at these numbers? Have we looked at these things, just to put this train back on the track? Because I think that is all information that we as board members need to have as when we receive these phone calls, when we receive these emails, so that we can give the correct answer. Right now, we don't have that information and we can't give that correct answer. So that was the reason why I was asking for that, because ultimately what we want, and I think you want, Mr. Pye, is to give the parent the choice for their child, because they are ultimately the one that is responsible for their child, and they deserve that right to have that choice. But it is our responsibility to make sure that our staff, and I mean every one of our staff, is safe. So in order to do that, we have to have all of these numbers together to be able to make that decision. And I think that's what this workshop will do, is to bring all of that
So
all
here-
into one meeting.
Thank you. I agree, Ms. Hughes. Here's the problem, because if you listen to board members' comments, one of them says, we don't make the decision. The next one says, we can't make the decision without having the numbers. Which one is it? We've got to decide as a board. Do we make the decision? Do we not make the decision, right? Here, the crux of it is, and this is why I asked Mr. Pye a very pointed question, whether in his conversations with his cabinet and his staff and his 62 people across the district, when he meets with those people, I asked him the question,
Ms. Crosby?
I asked him the question, has this specific conversation come up as to what we are discussing here tonight? Have you talked about, Mr. Pye, with your cabinet, face-to-face, giving parents the choice, face-to-face versus virtual? Mr. Pye answered yes, that has come up, okay? The dilemma then, the problem that we run into is if we ask him that and he says yes, but we're still saying we want to see all the numbers because we're going to make the decision, we have a problem because we don't trust Mr. Pye. If we as a board do not trust Mr. Pye, we need to fire him and we need to get a new superintendent.
And I'm ready to go, so
And
go
it,
for it.
and it goes down a road that I think we need to be very
dramatic.
careful of, that nobody else wants to talk about. And we did open up a can of worms, because I have a problem if this board is I'm gonna speak out in my mind and the way that I feel about it. If we are gonna go down the direction that it feels like we're going, it feels like we're saying, Mr. Pye, we don't trust you, we don't trust your team of administrators, we don't trust the teachers, but we're gonna listen to everybody else. That's my problem, that's my piece. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, I have to come back with that just for a second there, Justin, just because of the fact that when I asked for numbers, and I just stated that statement again, I asked for those numbers so that we are able to go to our constituents and give them the reason why these things, not so that we can make this decision. We do not make the decisions of whether we go face-to-face or whether we stay virtual. That is ultimately the decision of the district. But we have to have that information to be able to relay that to the people who send us emails, give us phone calls, text messages. We have to be able to give them that information. And that's what we're trying to do, is gather everything that we need to be able to do the job that we do as board members, not as district personnel, not as Mr. Pye, not as superintendent.
But aren't all of these on the web, right, Pat Rayner? That's what I asked, that all this be updated daily when we're updating daily, or if it's weekly, either one, so we begin to tell the public it's all on the website, because you can have the numbers there and you can say the trends are going up, but again, it's not going to mean anything if they don't have it in front of them too. So the best thing would be to say, would you please go on the website, look at it, and call me back about any questions that you may have, and we'll talk about it. And I'll get you the help that you need, and somebody from the district, whether it be Thad, Julie, myself, we'll call the person and answer their questions.
That wasn't the numbers that I asked for. The numbers that I asked for were the numbers of the teachers that were willing to go face-to-face, and the numbers of the teachers that were needing or wanting to be virtual, and could we accommodate that situation? Those were the numbers, because when a parent calls and says, we've got, every teacher that I've talked to says they want to go face-to-face, and here yet you're saying that there are teachers that don't want to go face-to-face. We have nothing to rebut that with, because we aren't the one that's collecting that data, and we never see that
Our
data.
data showed 78% said, please don't do anything but follow the metrics.
But see, we've not had that
78,
info.
and of the other 22, I think it's probably split. It's probably 10 or 15% who really want to do it badly. I think you've got some that says, I'm a team player, I don't have any elderly people in my home or any children, I'll do whatever the district needs me to do, but I prefer this. But 78%, which is more than 3/4 of the teachers, 3 out of 4 said, no way, Jose. That came out loud and clear, and the principals brought that up again today, because I can't survey the teachers every week, and they get upset when we do, because it's like, how many times are you going to ask us this question? The answer has not changed. So I know they get upset with me, but the principals been asked to try to keep base with the teachers, walk by,
Right.
ask questions, so you can tell me not an exact vote in your school, but the feeling tone at Oak Brook Elementary, the feeling tone at Somerville High School is, we're not hearing anything to the contrary. I think it's pretty solid. This is what they want. But I know Kenny Farrell, when you ask him, he'll say, well, it might be 78%, but at Somerville High School, we do whatever the district needs us to do to try to comply. And I think that's probably true of most of our teachers. It's just that you hate to put them in a position where they're feeling like they're going to lose their job, they're going to lose people going to come after them if they don't do whatever. And it's sad that we can't have this discussion like we're having now, because there is no right answer. And we're just begging people to tell us any and everything so we can factor it together and see if we can't come up with something that could be a meaningful compromise. And that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be hard pressed to pick one side versus the other. I think we have to look for everywhere we can to try to get the best from both worlds, the balance of quality education and safety. I think you have to have a balance.
I think I am under the impression that this job, it's our responsibility to ask questions. I don't think that
Absolutely.
implies that we don't trust anyone, you or anyone on your team or any other person who works in this district. Certainly is not how I feel. But I do feel a responsibility to understand everything, and that's why I ask questions. And just to, I actually have a couple questions about the logistics of the e-learning. It's a little off topic. I don't know if we're ready for me to ask that, if this would be a time to do, if that'd be okay.
Ask it.
Okay, first, I want to ask about the way our lunches are being worked right now, because I have heard some feedback from parents and concerns about the fact that the pickup is during the school day when children are on the e-learning, which is posing some issues,
Yes,
I think, for
yeah.
parents who are trying to be home with their child. So that's a concern. So I guess my question is, have y'all heard that? And also, have we compared the percentages of parents who are picking up lunches to the percentages that normally, students who normally get lunches in school, or our number that are on
Well,
free and reduced? Because
I'm very concerned our participation is way down.
Right, so I
And
think
it was
we
way
need to-
down because we either not offering the right options
Right.
or whatever. I've personally not heard anything. I've not been dealing with that. But I've got a meeting Thursday with Sodexo because evidently they have major concerns with some issues, and they want me to know about it. So I will be dealing with that Thursday morning.
Continue on the e-learning, I think we need to address this because I want to make sure that kids have access to food. Obviously, that is.
I agree. It's
utmost-
free, y'all. It's free.
It's free.
I'm
So we
paying bus
know-
drivers to
right.
stay
When
home.
it's free,
Get in the
we
bus and tote
know-
their lunches to the people's house like they do other
Right,
places.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. If it's free and they're not getting it, we know something's wrong. So,
Yeah,
right.
the food is there. There's no excuse in that. And we need the numbers up to justify us having a food service company.
Right.
Mr. Pye, I know that we were working it with the area daycares, and I think that is no longer in effect.
Really? It
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think
Nothing's
that-
changed.
I think that has,
The food is
I've heard
free.
from a couple of daycares, and they're not receiving it anymore. And
I have not heard that, Ms. Hughes, but I will look into that. And just to say, when we first went into our e-learning, made the decision to come back for e-learning, we did do a survey, district-wide survey of everybody to find out who would participate in the lunch program. And from that survey, we not only are doing our 6 school sites, but we have also worked with Mr. Shope and the bus drivers to also have, I think it's either 13 or 14 additional pickup sites, so that in various times. I think that the Old Fort Baptist is still a pickup site, if I remember mentally in my list, but I will definitely double check that. And those bus delivery sites are staggered throughout the morning in order to try to be as accommodating for student schedules as possible. So,
But I know some students are only getting a 30-minute break for lunch, or the 25, so that's a lot of times not enough time for
get
parents to
there.
leave them, or to bring them, or
Okay.
whatever.
We'll
I
look
want to
further-
reiterate
we'll
what
look
we've
further
been
into that.
saying all along. Whenever there's a concern, the parents need to understand they need to take it to the school. They take it directly to the school board. They bypass the entire district office. I spent this morning about an hour on a concern a board member sent to me, and none of it was true. It was far-fetched. It was just nothing like what was told to us. And here I'm getting excited that a school's missed the mark, a teacher's missed the mark. This poor child the child's playing a game, and it's not the first time they played it, and we just about fell for it. And we've got to understand our children are very smart. They know how to mess up the computer and claim, I want my 3rd new one, because they keep breaking. When we go there, we finally realize they are manipulating that machine. None of y'all ever hear about that side of how we resolved it, and the parent never apologizes, never disciplines the child. It's just like, oh, okay. They don't know all the hours spent as we're trying to bend over backwards to accommodate everybody best we can. The school principals, and talking to them today, none of them are hearing from any parent about face-to-face. None of them. It's like it doesn't exist. Y'all are getting it. I get very little of it, and the principals are getting none of it. The principals are the very best people for parents to talk to. Their child's principal. They're the most connected. They're the most powerful people in the district because we listen to our principals. Our principals have the voice of the community and of their teachers. But if you're not voicing your concern, then we can't support it. So I really can't say enough. Any concern you got about anything, parents, please take it to your child's principal first.
Yes, and I,
Principal sometimes, secretary won't let them through. And also, I wonder if the secretary just says, okay, thank you, I'll
Well, if that's the case and that really does happen, then they're to call the district office and we will get it to the right person.
but going back to the food thing, I think a lot of these families might not be the families who are going to do that or have that.
And I understand
And
that.
so
I understand
when I bring
that.
that to your attention, and I asked about let's look at the numbers and make sure the right amount are picking up that we expect. That's what I was asking, because it's a concern. I'm not trying to say someone brought it to me as a personal issue, but.
No, and I wasn't referring to what you said. I'd have already forgotten what you said. I was on the whole just general picture of what I spent this morning. I wanted to let people know that we're out there to help. And I just had a principal text me while you were talking to say, please let the board know that we as principals aren't getting this.
Sure, yeah.
And parents need to share their concerns with us so we can make sure the district office keeps informed and the district informs the board. And I think that's very important that we keep that
Right.
communication.
And we do have vocal parents, but we also have parents who are not going to, and I just want to make sure that those kids have someone.
The lunch count is way, way down.
Yeah.
So either the food is horrible, nobody wants it because it's free, or there's a communication issue of people, maybe where the parents are working, there is nobody to pick it up. There's issues, and that's what we have the buses to take them to closer sites, and we have over 100 and something buses. So there should not be a problem getting lunches around town and doing the right time that we need to do it. I've seen nothing. I've not had any of the food. I'll be honest with you. I just haven't. I've heard many people say how wonderful it is, and I've also heard it's not. But when you're sitting out non-perishable food, you've eliminated most of the good foods.
Well, they put milk and then they put a fruit in there, so that's
Yeah.
perishable, but, you know.
But it's not top on children's list.
Mr. Pye, I just want to say this and we shouldn't have our phones on because of this very reason, but it just keeps popping up. I just want you to know, and this is where my heart goes out to you guys. I've had constituents say, you're forgetting that we do want, we have sent you messages, we want hybrid too. So I get it, but that is our job to let you know, and now we are getting parents right here. I have 4 of them actually that want us to also consider hybrid before we go face to face. Bless your hearts. But
And we have looked at all of those. I think we had at least 5 options on the table prior to today's meeting, paring it down, and we will certainly revisit all of those. And if it's the will to have a phase-in and do a short period of hybrid, even if it's for middle and high, we looked at that. I mean, and so we will go back. We hear you. We will go back and do that. Also, too, we are in the process to talk to both Mr. Farnsworth and the Shoes of getting a parent survey together to say, if the district were to go back on X date, then put the line in the sand, then you've got to choose between this and this so that we have those numbers so that we know how to plan for our instructional model. So we're working in that regard because we heard you coming back from Christmas break that you felt that was an important piece to have.
And so again, logistically, it opens up a can of worms because if you're gonna ask that question, make sure that parent understands that child's teacher, who they love and cherish for the past 8 months, could very well change. And so that parent needs to make sure and understand that, and they may answer the question differently. So again, it goes to the logistical pieces. It's not an easy answer. There is no right answer.
And didn't we at Christmas break, I'm back with the meals, didn't we give out like a week's supply of meals? That could be an option. I don't know if we can divide it up, but like we did virtual and face-to-face, that maybe some parents, that could be their option, and we would have maybe both systems. You need them every day or 3 days, whatever we do, we could maybe do that and guarantee that family can make sure we make connection to get that food there. So that's probably something that I don't know if we've surveyed parents out how well it is, but to me, that's a survey worth having. We've got this free food. It's for your children, and it's for anybody else you want to give it to. I'm not count of it. Take the food, please, and use it to the best of your ability. And surely there's various things in there you can pick and choose, but it would supplement your family, even over the weekends and all other times. It's there. Like I said, it's free. I hate not doing it. So I think we ought to push getting that participation rate through the roof.
Yes, ma'am.
When you send this information out to parents, do you send it through the kids' computers to emails? How do you contact parents to get the surveys?
Both. I think we do both.
Ms. Rayner, you want to help with that?
I think it's both.
What I'm coming at is how many parents know how
I
to
can't
use the
keep
email
this
is what I'm trying to get at.
But I can't.
They're not,
I hate this.
This particular survey on the food service was actually sent out through the Blackboard system and promoted through social media text, through phone calls, and emails to all. And our schools were wonderful to do follow-ups, and we had a very good participation.
Good, well, she was just talking about, surveying the parents, whatever, and I'm like, how many parents really know how to open up an email? So I didn't know if there was other ways.
Are we going to continue having the teachers teach from home? Is that the plan? And if so, are we thinking we would open the schools back at any time to allow them to get additional resources or to send things home? Because I know my children's teacher, especially in elementary, sent a lot of home.
The whole point was to keep people out of contact with each other, but I personally went back after all the stuff was sent out and talked with my 25 principals and told them they had the authority to do what was best for their school. And some of them told me that they had teachers that's wife stayed home with the children, where they had like 3 small children running wild in the house, how they do, and I can't teach any kind of style with this going on. I need to be in a quiet place. Why not? Others are saying because of the resources that I use, it's right there at my fingertips. I don't need to haul all that stuff to my house. I really don't have a place for it. So the whole point was to minimize the human contact in the buildings. But I would have to work out a classroom. I thought about that. I had a lot of teachers to email me and ask me, and I thought, this is foolish. This is our intent. We're doing this to protect you. We're giving you a chance, those of you who have child care problems and all those things, I'm giving you a chance to fix that. But those of you who want to do something different, go for it. You're adults. We can handle this. So as far as I know, I hope all the principals did give that option. I know of at least 5 of them did, because they asked for my blessing. And, of course, I then called a meeting with my principals and to get this. And I want you to know, I do have private meetings with the principals. I have not been doing that. I've started that back up. The principals have asked that they love talking to, other staff members and all this, but they don't feel comfortable speaking their piece, and that somebody may repeat it, somebody may use it in a different way. So I do have that relationship, and I don't use it against anybody. I beg for them to differ. I've thrown something out now. Somebody please slap my face with something different. I want to be challenged so that I know we're making the best decisions, and I don't need a bunch of people who sit there, shake their heads in agreement and not look at. I need honest feedback. And so the principals have all indicated, we can't wait to get back with you. And so I will be meeting with them often in a private setting to talk about these very same issues.
Did they also have that authority when it came to deciding what kindergarten through 2nd did, if they were doing the cohorts or the full day?
We talked about it, but no, I think that is, we told them we asked them to go down and talk to teachers, get some feedback, but there was never really a special vote.
I think different schools are doing it differently, so I was just curious.
Oh,
was
no,
that a
no.
principal decision?
We allowed them how they did it. I didn't dictate how that was done, but we just said it had to be done. And of course, 3 through 5 now, we went down and talked over that with the 3 through 5 teachers.
And what are they
But
doing?
1 through 2 may have not had that
3
same
through
talk.
5 are doing full day, I think, in all the elementary schools, but K through 2nd, some of the schools are following the cohort and only doing a half day, and some are doing the full day.
That was not an option.
Well, see, that's what, in 3rd grade, that's what I was saying. She
Don't know that.
teaches the A cohort in the morning and the B cohort in the afternoon.
Right, that's the plan. But
So-
she is saying that in some cases they're not doing that.
But he has to be on there the full time.
I think they're doing it in some and some they're not. I think some of the schools are doing a full day for kindergarten through 2nd, and some are doing the half day.
Because they only have 10 or 12 kids in the class.
I don't know, that's what I was asking.
It
Was that
has
left
to
to
be
the
that,
principals? I
but
don't know.
they should not be doing that. That's, I hate to think that we got 12 children, we have to do 6 and 6 when we can easily do 12.
I don't know about the numbers.
I mean,
of
I don't have a
kids, that's what I
problem,
was
but
asking.
it's an unfair advantage that teacher A, because she has 12, gets to do that. Teacher B, who has 20, doesn't get to do it. I have a problem with that. So we try to keep things united, on the same page. I know elementary, many teachers were concerned that we do the morning and afternoon in elementary 5 days a week. High school does 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday's an e-learning day. Many elementary teachers say we could use that day for e-learning. And so when you start doing different things, it causes a problem. So I will check on that, because they should be doing they should not be offering a different setting. That's not fair.
I'm just saying they should not be sitting there 6 hours.
Because that tells me they got more teachers than they need, and I'm short teachers in other grade levels, I need to move that teacher to a school that's got 25 and 30. And that's what I'm going to do.
Clarify that
We
again.
can't afford that. She's saying to have a teacher teaching the same children all day long because she only has 10 or 12. Where the teacher next to her has 20, and she's doing morning and afternoon. We want everybody doing the morning and the afternoon. That's just the way it was designed.
So third through fifth, should they be doing A in the morning and B in the afternoon, or should they be sitting there for 6.5 hours all day?
No, A in the morning and B in the afternoon. That's still the model.
For third through fifth as well?
Yeah, both have the same model. K through
No.
K
So
through
my child-
5
I have
has.
a fifth grader, he goes to school all day long, from 7:15 to 1:45. On e-learning, right now.
Oh, e-learning. We're talking about the model before Christmas.
No, we're talking about e-learning.
Oh, I'm sorry, e-learning, I don't know what, no.
That's okay. I'm talking about e-learning. On
All right,
e-learning-
e-learning,
So my
that is
question
up to the school. I have no
Okay,
problem with
and that's
that.
what I thought. The principal was making the decision. I was just asking.
In that
about
case,
it.
I would say the principal knows better than I do.
Yes, okay. And
I
that's
thought you were
what
talking about the K-5 model that we did before Christmas. No,
I
I'm
was-
sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, no, on the e-learning, yes.
Okay,
I
no,
felt like
e-learning
that was
is
safe.
e-learning.
And it was up to the principals at the schools.
We tell our teachers and principals, teach them as much as you can. You can't overteach in e-learning.
Right, okay.
It's probably more similar to what we
Mr. Pye, can I just ask about the vaccines?
Yes,
I
we're
know
getting
we
a lot
have
of,
our nurse here, and you might need to take a break.
I need a break.
But I was just wondering where we were maybe on the vaccines, if you could give us that, please?
Yes, that's a good question.
Hello. I was wondering if anyone was going to ask about that. So we're still currently in phase 1A, which is for healthcare workers, first responders, individuals like that. We, as recently as last Monday, were given the opportunity to have our school nurses, our athletic trainers, our physical therapists, speech therapists, and occupational therapists schedule their vaccinations with MUSC. So most of them have already done that at this point. They've all initiated that process with their teams. I think 6 of our nurses got vaccinated this morning. As soon as we get into phase 1B, that's when school personnel comes into play. So that's when, in a tiered approach, our school staff, depending on their level of exposure, would be vaccinated. We are working to find an outside partner right now to help us with that rollout process. And we're hopeful that once we do initiate that partnership, they can come on site and vaccinate any employees who would like to receive it as soon as it is available to them. But we're hoping, DHEC is hoping for like a February rollout. We're not entirely sure when that will happen, but we're hoping for February.
And that was a lot of the thinking of the principals this morning in their conversation, was the vaccination for our staff would go a long ways, and easing that is an issue, a challenge. So that was another reason why the extended e-learning. So I'm going to put that out there. That was major in their conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Whoa,
Well,
what a discussion.
what a
We
ride.
haven't met for a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Pye, for all that information. The next thing we're gonna go to is our personnel report. And board members, you should have in your packet the resignations for the year 2021. If everybody's okay with it, I need a motion to approve that. Motion made by Mr. Mitchum.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Guthrie. Any discussion? All in favor? 7. Okay, board committee reports. The first committee report that we have is the budget committee, and that happens to be a committee that I chair. And I am going to ask Tina if she will come up to the front, and we'll kind of piggyback on this. You should have received in your packets, it was a, oh, I thought I had it on. Oh, I'm sorry. In your packets, you should have received, it was a late in your packet thing that you received today, but you should have received some information on that. We were hoping that you would be able to have some time to look over that. Y'all should have received a text message telling you it was there so that you could go out and look at it. But just based on something that the budget committee has met, we met and talked about issuing a bonus to all of our employees based on a bonus.
A bonus.
Yay!
Yay!
to all of our employees for all of the hard work and everything. We know our teachers, our custodial workers, our cafeteria, well, not our cafeteria people. We do have a few of the cafeteria people
We
there.
have about 10.
Yep, and then our bus drivers, all of them, we know the hard work and we know everything that has had to go into this to make this happen and make it work for our district so well. And so we asked that we look to see if we had any available money that we could do that. I'm going to ask Tina if she will kind of go over this, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask these questions. We'll do our best to answer them. If there's any other questions that we cannot answer, then we'll be able to get those back to you as quickly as we can, seeing as though we would like to have this roll out at the end of the quarter, which will be the end of this month, new quarter beginning the first of the month. And in the process of this happening, we would like to send a letter out to all of our employees from the school board as well as the district, expressing our appreciation and just letting them know we could not have done it without them. And they are the people who have made this work, everybody together. This is Team Dorchester, and we have done a great job at being Team Dorchester. And I think our end results are all going to be great because of it. I actually have a hard copy of the letter, and I'm going to just pass these down. And you can have a hard copy, but tomorrow you will also be receiving one via email from Ms. Rayner that you can have for your records. Now, Tina, if you'll go in and discuss some of the details, that would be
So that
great.
letter is contingent upon if y'all approve the
Exactly.
amounts that the board budget committee, like Ms. Hughes said, we met before the break, and this was being discussed in detail then, and then after we came back, after we got some more information and some data pulled together for you, the information that was uploaded to the board packet was a discussion of where the monies would be coming from, and we were able to save some money last year since schools were closed for 3 months, or better, more than 3 months. So we had some fund balance savings that we were going to utilize towards that, and we were also wanting, part of that money we wanted as a little cushion in case we were to receive any state cuts to the budget this year, which we have not heard any budget cuts coming. So we felt a little more confident in that. And then what really gave us gave me the fuzzies was that the state superintendent Molly Spearman let us know that we would be receiving some additional CARES money that's coming out of Washington that they just told us about at the end of the year. That would be more than our original allocation of CARES money, so we were able to use that, which could be specifically used for teacher bonuses. So all of that put together gave the budget committee some comfort in coming to y'all to ask if you would be willing to approve for full-time certified employees to receive $1,000 bonus, full-time classified to receive $500, and permanent part-time employees, $250.
Now, understand that these are bonuses. These are not incentives. So incentives will be things that we realize are things that are in need, that we're in need of. Mm-hmm. And we will be looking at those later on as a budget committee. But right now, these are just the bonuses for a job well done. Basically, this is something that's already happened. We appreciate you. Know that you're appreciated, and hopefully we'll work forward to looking for the incentives to try to increase maybe our substitute teacher program and those kind of things. So that was kind of the thought process on that, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Farnsworth?
Just quickly to the board and to the public, I just want to, for transparency's sake, I'm not going to have any part of the discussion on this, nor will I vote on it. My wife is a teacher in the district, and even though I'm legally allowed to vote on it because it impacts the population of educators, again, just for transparency's sake, so I don't want anybody to think, why is Mr. Farnsworth just sitting there and not saying anything? That's why, so thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you saying that. Does anybody have any questions or comments about all of this? I know it's a
I
lot.
just think it's well-deserved. I'm grateful we had that extra money that was sent to us so that it made it easier to do.
Yeah, and just so you know, I was told that this weekend I had my state board retreat, and I was also told that there was some additional monies that would be coming from our governor, that the governor was going to earmark strictly for
That's what Barbara was saying.
bonuses, strictly for bonuses. So all of that money, if we have to use any money out of general fund, and then we do end up getting a cut for whatever reason, we can earmark, we can change that, and we can reallocate that money so that it goes back into our general fund and use the money that comes from the governor for our bonuses. So we will be safe in that manner as well. So, okay, does anybody have any other questions for
I just
Tina?
had about 10 emails pop up, same, just,
Well, can I make a motion then to approve this?
Well, the motion comes from the committee.
Oh, that's right.
So we don't need a second. So if there's no further discussion, I will ask for a vote. Okay, that's going to be 6 and 1 abstention, Mr. Farnsworth, and 1 abstention.
Well, as an employee, I can just say thank you very much for all my fellow employees, that we just really appreciate y'all taking this consideration for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, we thank every one of our employees, you and every one of our other employees, from up here all the way out to our bus drivers and to our custodial and everything. We thank all of you because we could not do it without each and every one of you. So we really appreciate you, your efforts, and the jobs that you do. So, does anybody else have anything you want to comment? No?
Can I
Ms.
share
Crosby?
one?
I'm
Can I
sorry?
share one of these?
Sure, go ahead.
This is to the board, I'm sure y'all have it too. I have been urged to send an email regarding my thoughts on our children returning face-to-face. Has any of the board taken into consideration the mental health of our children? I am a practicing mental health therapist, master's of psychologist, and I see kids 13 through 18, and I can without a doubt tell you the disconnect is causing many problems. The kids are mesmerized in front of a screen 12 hours per day. I am counting homework time too, and lacking social interaction. Anxiety has increased substantially since the pandemic started in all ages. Let's address the teachers. Out of the 12 teachers my children have, I will say about 5 are actually teaching. There's a lot of glad you signed on, here's the worksheet.
Madam Chair,
You can,
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
respectfully, may we return to our agenda?
Yes.
she gave me permission to read it, Brian.
Okay. Okay.
It says, I personally witnessed the numerous times per week. Some of these teachers are getting away with a lot. Why are our kids made to work double the amount, but the teachers get to check out each school year? I literally saw teachers working other jobs during this posted school hour times. I'm
Ms.
watching
Crosby.
very bright children turn into,
Okay, Ms. Crosby, that is actually a comment that should actually be in public comments.
okay, well, I asked.
I know you did, and I that was my mistake. I should not have allowed it, but, and I'll take full responsibility for that.
Tell
But
the parent to call the school.
what we need to do is those kind of comments need to come through the public comment channel, and then we can have those public comments be said. Tina, there is a question on the extended day. Would you like to address that part of it for me? And I'm talking about the bonuses, the extended day on the bonus. They were just asking about extended day and the inclusive of the extended day.
Well, we're paying.
For our extended day program, we have counselors at every site who are considered full-time site coordinators, so they are considered full-time classified. The counselors who are permanent part-time, who have a regular schedule, they will be considered part-time for the $250 bonus. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Tina. Okay, we're going to move on to new business, our SCSBA Board Service Award. Ms. Rayner?
Thank you, Chairman Hughes. and members of the board, Mr. Pye. It's our pleasure tonight to recognize one of our board members who has been recognized for her service on the Dorchester District 2 Board of Trustees for 15 years, and that is Miss Gail Hughes.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know that was
So, we are extremely proud to have a number of board members who have served for numbers of years, and Ms. Hughes, I think you are one of the reigning champs right now in that category, and what it means for our children and certainly for our school district is continuity of leadership that benefits our programming, that benefits our personnel, someone with that overview over the years, and has helped us build on our successes. And Ms. Hughes also, we were very proud a few weeks ago to announce that she has been elected as the Secretary-Treasurer of the South Carolina School Boards Association. So we appreciate the leadership that you give to our school district, but also to the entire state. And so to recognize this honor, you have a certificate as well as your 15-year pin. So congratulations.
Boy, that was a shock. I was looking around to see who was going to get the award. Thank you, Ms. Rayner, and thank you very much. This is, and I've said this many times before, we're Team Dorchester, but more than Team Dorchester, to me, this is my family. This is where I grew up. These are the schools I went to, and these are the schools that I want to serve and the people that I want to serve. So thank y'all very much for allowing me the opportunity. Next is SCSBA's Ethical Principles reading and poster signing. I think that's Ms. Rayner as well.
Again, thank you, Chairman Hughes. Again, the South Carolina Schools Board Association several years ago instituted a practice that annually they have challenged and asked all school boards in the state of South Carolina to recommit themselves to the ethical principles of school leadership, serving as an elected official of a school district. And I won't read all of the parts of the ethical principles, but I think it should be very validating, again, to our parents and to our teachers that our school board does commit themselves to this high standard of ethical behavior and their decisions they make. We will be posting this online on our district website, but we do have a copy that we're going to ask all the board members to sign, which we do every year, maybe at the end of the board meeting, and I will take a photograph. But again, I think this is such a public indication of the commitment of our elected officials, so we're very proud of this. Again, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next on the agenda is an update on the South Magnolia Event Group. Ms. Crosby.
All right, excuse me. I have met with them several times, and I think the one time they had all these different turfs laid out, and I said, yep, they're all green. Because, you know, how much do you really know about them until they tell you? None of us know that about the depths of them, how close it is, and the underneath stuff, and none of us know that. And Mr. Tupper and Mr. Rutherford actually went and visited some of the fields and got the feel of them themselves and found out the recommendations or whatever. And so we did make a decision, and we have picked out one and the company, and the turf has been half paid for, and it's been ordered. So that's about it.
Good deal. Okay, any questions for Ms. Crosby? Nope. Thank you, Ms. Crosby, for that information. Next on the agenda is the Somerville Education Association presentation. That's Ms. Mary Rita Watson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Mary Rita Watson, as you know, and this is Barbie Ross. Hi. And we are both I'm president, she's the vice president of the Somerville Education Association. And we're here tonight representing our membership and the affiliate, we are an affiliate of the South Carolina Education Association. As you may know, this is School Board Appreciation Month, and we're here tonight to let you know, now more than ever, that you are appreciated. As citizens who serve children and represent their communities, individual school members face complex and demanding challenges. Some of your many jobs are to establish a vision for the education program, to design and structure and achieve that vision, to assure that schools are accountable to the community, and to strongly advocate for improvements in student learning. Those jobs entail an endless string of meetings and school functions, reams of reports and agendas to read through, proposals and other information to study, and a host of difficult decisions to make. We realize these efforts, and so on this day, the members of the SEA would like to thank you all for what you do for the community, ensuring that DD2 students and staff are in the forefront of all decisions that are made. We are stronger together, and we appreciate the support that many of you provide. I would like to turn the microphone over to Mrs. Ross, and she can share a few words for you.
As part of our appreciation, we have brought a small token for you all. Our school psychologist, Miss Kesley Harmon, when she was out on lockdown last spring, took up cookie baking, and she has brought that to an art form, and now it's kind of her side hustle. So she could be a baker here soon, full-time, we don't know. But I have brought those to you today, and I'll give them here in just a minute. But we do appreciate all that you do for us. We know that now is not the best time to be a member of a Board of Education. Across the country, many people are struggling with the very same decisions that you are, and know that we appreciate your efforts and your time and all that you are giving to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate everything that you do as well, as far as trying to bring the teachers together and trying to keep them all on the same page and trying to keep them informed. We appreciate everything that you do for us as well.
Well, and so you know, we represent not just educators, but it's support staff as well. So the SEA is bus drivers, cafeteria workers, secretarial staff, assistants, all.
Does anybody have anything they want to say?
These look so good. It was really hard to keep my husband out of them.
Oh my gosh, they're cute.
She's an artist. She's
Look at that. I'm sorry? Sure. We have pencils with our names on them that are cookies. Those are cute. Really cute. She did a great job. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, Evan got one. Those are yours. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comments. And the first one that I have is Jason Brockert? Got it.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Obviously, we've been sitting here for a lot of discussions, things that everybody's already talked about a lot. Mr. Pai, I'd like to say that I'm happy to see you back at work. I know a lot of folks have been very concerned about, when we see you back, so that's very comforting. With what we've been discussing, right, ad nauseum, everybody has been talking about this pandemic. We've already established what was set forth for the hybrid plan, right? It was a very good, very well thought out plan. We all expected that we'd be in a different spot that we are now, right? Nobody imagined that we'd be where we are. I think that the dual nature of giving the choice of send my kids to school and all the other kids that want to go to school, all of them face-to-face, 5 days a week, or don't send my kids to school at all, is not a very good stance to have to take, right? We always have multiple decisions. There are many different options to do this. I've sent a few emails to the board, and I understand lots of emails go out to the board, and I expect the canned response. I don't take any offense to that. There's a lot of talent in the school board, in the faculty, and in the pool of parents. So I myself am a parent to a middle schooler and an elementary school student. We've worked with the schools the whole time. We've actually really enjoyed all of the interactions we've had with Dorchester 2 schools. And as it was said before, right, that was one of the things when the Navy brought us back to South Carolina in 2009, we had young children, we wanted to be in good schools. Dorchester 2 is where we wanted to be. I don't regret that for a minute, right? This past school year has been trying for everybody. What we really do want to do is try to help as much as possible. So what we've done, I transferred my son from hybrid to virtual, not because I don't want him in school, but because he's doing well. I was going to do the same thing with my daughter, but I engaged the principal. The principal gave me another option, right? I encourage all parents to engage their principals to work for other options. So not just can we go or should we keep everybody home? There are many, many levels. The workshop that's been proposed, I think that's great. I think transparency and consistency information should be put out to everybody. I think we should all have access to the same information so that we can have more informed feedback to give you when we send those emails and such. So again, thank you very much for all of the work, all the considerations, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Pye and school board members. I'm coming to you as a district parent, a concerned district parent. I would like you to visualize a 7-year-old trying to sit down for a day of e-learning. I would think you would picture a child with a pen and an iPad ready to learn for the day. I would now like you to visualize that same student with a visual impairment, with an intellectual disability, and who is nonverbal. The ability to learn in that type of setting is non-existent. It was previously stated that whether or not to go to e-learning versus face-to-face was based on a balance of education and safety, right? If you ask my child and the other students in his special education class to be in an e-learning environment, you are disregarding the education portion of that balance. I took time today to list out all of the goals on his individualized education program, his IEP, which is a federal document signed by the district that was recently signed in December 2020. Of his 15 goals that are in this IEP, 80% of those goals are focused on him being a member of society, not on his ability to do math, to read. He needs to be able to be a member of society and learn how to navigate in a social world, which cannot be accomplished in an e-learning environment. It was also mentioned earlier today, Mr. Pye, that smaller class settings, like in Pinewood and others, have been able to social distance because of their smaller size. My son has 6 members in his class, 6. with a very supportive teacher. So what I am here to ask you is that when these recommendations are made, that a separate consideration be in place for those in the special education setting. If the mission of DD2 is to educate students, then those students in special education classrooms need to be considered separately and with the actual learning environment for that population in mind. Thank you.
Next one I have is Mr. Philip Hall.
Welcome back, Mr. Pye. Glad to see you're back. Well, hopefully you're happy to see me. Okay. I just want to bring up that, look, me and my wife, we've been accused of not being supporters of teachers because we've got up and we've discussed what's best, we feel is best for our families and a lot of families out there that are hurting. I can tell you right now, there's no two bigger supporters. We were actually called by a teacher last week who has been with helping our middle school teacher, our middle school student, and thanked us for our support. We support the teachers that want to do the right thing. What we don't support, though, are the teachers that there's no profession I know or have been a part of where you could stand up publicly, whether it's military, police, nurses, doctors, whoever, day school providers, and say, you're not going to go do your job. I mean, you could say it. I mean, it's a free country still for another 9 days or so, but it's a free country. So you can stand up there and you can say what you want, but you're not going to have a job. So a lot of your time, and some of you specifically, Justin, you'll sit there for 90% of the time and defend and talk about how great teachers are. And we know that. We know what the good teachers are. But the constituents are the parents and the children. As a board, your job is, I believe, to listen to teachers, listen to parents, but number one, put the students first. They're your top priority. And yes, we need a survey because you may already have the class sizes. If you do a survey and you find out that you have maybe 40% aren't going to come back this year, then you know you can bring your kids back to school safe. But teachers refusing to go, now even with a vaccine, some teachers are saying, well, I don't want the vaccine. So you got the masks, you got the plexiglass, and now you've got a vaccine coming out, and some teachers saying, I don't want to take that. So what's enough? When is enough for the teachers to return? And that's why I said I think you're always going to have a problem with some individuals that aren't going to want to come back no matter what they do. And that's just not right. And I think it's ignorant to say, why are we going to even discuss tonight about going back to school with these high numbers? Again, then it tells me you're not listening to your constituents at all. You're the parents that are suffering out there, that are struggling, because I'm getting email, text messages why this meeting is going on, saying, I just saw my teacher out at, I think she said Chili's last week. Now how can she go to Chili's, but she can't go in and teach my children? Teachers are also, I believe there's a number of teachers that want to go back. Mr. Pye, one of the first school meetings we went to, me and my wife, we met with you, and you had said that some teachers are being pressured by other ones not to return. And why would they? Why? Some teachers are afraid to return because they're being bullied. The only board, the first board member on this, and there are others now, and I'm really appreciative of it, that speak up, was Barbara Crosby. And she's been threatened, harassed, chastised, and not just by the outside community, but by her own board. The last meeting, Justin Farnsworth, I believe you owe Barbara Crosby an apology because you referred to her as a bad apple and other board members, and that's just unfair and
Thank you,
not right.
Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
The next on up is Miss Mary Rita Watson.
Hello again. Putting on my other hat. I just have notes all over this paper. Again, I sit over here and my stomach just gets in knots because I feel like, again, we're fighting this battle. So before I'm going to try not to get emotional because that just does no good. But before I even get into what I need to discuss, I know that I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, and $1,000 bonus is awesome. I do know that the custodians in our building and the bus drivers, if it could be every full-time employee gets $1,000 and then the part-timers get $500. I mean, I know we're going to be getting a lot of CARES Act money from the federal government, more than what we're getting right now. So if that could even happen, those people, I mean, my hat is off to all of them. The custodians in our building are awesome at Oak Brook, and you know, they really deserve whatever we can give them. And I know they would love $500. I'm not saying that. I don't want you to think that I'm ungrateful at all. Also, I just heard a lot about, you know, tonight we've kind of flip-flopped. I don't even really know where we are in the end of this conversation tonight. It's just very confusing. I don't know whether we're gonna go, is a hybrid on the table still? Or are we only virtual and face-to-face? You know, it's very confusing, and I don't think, maybe we don't all know what those options are, but I know that teachers are going to be asking questions. And so also know that we too want to work with our parents. That is what we do. We have always worked with parents as teachers. We want their children to be successful, because when they're successful, we're successful. So it's just part of the deal. But we can't always do what our parents want us to do to keep our kids safe. We have peanut-free tables in the cafeteria, even though some parents wouldn't want that. They want all those kids to eat together. We have rules for when kids get off buses. If they're 4 years old and the parent's not there, you can't let them off. But some parents would like for that to happen. But we can't do that because it's just not safe. There are so many things that are not safe. Some parents don't want to have go in and sign out their child. They'd rather them just come out to the car. We can't do that, because that's not safe. So we need to think about not only things that are safe for ourselves, but also for our children. And I do realize there are exceptions, and I do agree with special ed. I mean, that population needs to have a special magnifier. But for the rest of us, we need to do what's safe for our kids and for our faculty and staff. The administration, the teachers, the support staff are the heartbeat of the school district. And as much as we want to be face-to-face, we have to listen to what is safe right now. And it doesn't seem to be face-to-face right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson.
Motion to adjourn.